Good morning, everyone, and good night to the guys in Australia. I've got Justin here with us. He needs no introduction. Justin is the king of Marvel content on YouTube. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, Marvel content creators on YouTube. So,
Mhm.
good morning, Justin.
Hey, good morning.
How are you feeling?
I'm well. I'm excited to be here. You have such a smooth intro, man. I kind of want to hear it again. That was
Oh,
awesome.
really?
Yeah,
I
love
think
that
it's
music.
it's probably the whiskey.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Uh, and by the way, to my viewers, this is in Australia. It's 9 o'clock, so it's not like I'm drinking. I was on your show before, and everyone thought I was drinking at 8 a.m. in the morning. They're like, "Look at this guy." But no,
Yeah,
Justin, thank you so much for coming, man. So I thought, I'd have a session just asking you questions. There's some questions that I personally want to know the answers to, and
yeah.
I've been watching a lot of your videos, and it's amazing how far you've come. If you look at it, I pinged you the other day when I was watching this video. Noreen had to explain what a PMG was to you.
Yeah,
And now
absolutely.
you're at 5,000 subscribers. You're going to celebrate the one whole year of having the Marvel show. For those of you who don't know, Justin has a Marvel show
Mhm.
with Manu and a bunch of guests every week. And they go on
Mhm.
for like 3-4 hours and it's packed. Like everyone's there, like 50 people there. It is insane. And
And we have
and
to
this
work to shut it down. And then what you don't see is we go for another hour behind the stage. And so,
really, yeah, I
yeah,
know you guys like stay on and keep talking, but wow,
yeah,
this is nuts.
it's a
But yeah, I
marathon.
just thought I just have a chat, man. Just a casual chat. I was just wondering, with 5,000 subscribers now. First of all, congratulations. What do you think contributed to the success of your channel? Like, you went from, I think it was 37 subscribers all the way up to like 5,000 in a year.
Mhm.
What do you think, was the main contributor to that spike?
Goodness gracious. Man, that's a great question. So, I started out doing mainly Marvel Legends, Marvel comic content. That was my
Mhm.
main collection habits at the time. And then, the fact that Marvel cards existed in a modern level, that awareness really exposed itself to me around January, February of 2021. And that's when the content shifted to Marvel cards. And I think what contributed to it is, as you said, hey, in this early interview with Sketch Card Hive, Norn Rad, Fausto Barrio Nuevo, our friend who is the Marvel expert for CGC, um, I became connected to him early on. And I think my channel, like, it became an expression of the journey I was on that many others were, you know, jumping on and going through at the same time. This
That's true.
rediscovery of our childhood collecting habits. And, when you think about what I collected as a kid, whether it was comic books, comic cards, reading through Wizard magazines, or action figures, the comic cards really were the thing that resonated the most with me. And so whenever after most people discovered their childhood collection during COVID, that was similar for me as well with Marvel cards. But when I just began to discover not only the depth and richness of these modern cards, it just sucked me all the way in. And I have an
Mm.
insatiable appetite to learn, have a deep sense of curiosity, and
Mm.
that I just dove into it. And then I think my channel became, like I said, that expression, that a journey that many others were on as well, that they could come to and learn and grow through that, you know, knowledge of the new modern Marvel card with me.
And that's true, right? And the other thing I think as well is like what I find really intriguing about your channel is, I look forward to it to have a laugh. Like I,
Yeah.
I honestly go there, with Manu there and you guys there, and I just start, I'm off in the comment section, and I think a lot of people resonate with that as well. Like, a place where you can just hang out and chill. So yeah, I mean, congratulations to you, man. So like Gingy, if you're watching, I'm
Yeah.
joking, I'm joking.
Love
Um,
Jimmy.
yeah, no, Gingy's great. Can I ask a question? I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm not
Okay.
entirely sure.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most memorable moment on your channel?
Ooh, on my channel.
Yeah.
That's hard, man. That's like picking a kid. Um,
Something that you remember most.
yeah, I guess probably what's gonna stand out it's hard for me because what's going through my brain right now is what does everyone else thinks the most memorable moment, and what do I think the most memorable moment is? And hitting the AF-15 Comet Cut with Lonzo has got to be way up there at the top.
Yeah.
Um, but probably interviewing Eric and Julia Leadwall is gonna be the most memorable moment for me because the channel was still quite small at the time, and for the creators of X-Men the animated series to be willing to come on my channel, first of all, I was shocked that they were willing to do that, but that speaks
Mm.
way more to the kindness of their heart than it does to the size or popularity of my channel. And waking up 2 days later to see that I was being quoted and my channel was being quoted
Oh,
in
yes.
numerous news sources because they accidentally broke some pretty actually 3 big pieces of news for Disney Plus as it relates to X-Men 97. And that meant that someone at comicbook.com watches the Spidey Hits channel because that was the first source that broke that information that got picked up by
Mm-mm-mm.
everybody else all the way to Yahoo News. And so to me, that was like, okay, wow, like it is as small as the channel is, it still has an impact. It still has the ability to have an impact. So keep creating, keep creating, keep creating. And so that was for me individually probably the biggest moment.
Well, that's fair. I remember that story as well. I was guessing the AF-15, but I was close.
You were very
And
close. Yeah.
you mentioned X-Men, and I've always wanted to ask you this, right?
Yeah.
What is it about Dark Phoenix that resonates with you so well that you're willing to cheat on Spider-Man? You
Yeah.
know what I
That's
mean?
good.
Like,
Well, female? No, I'm kidding. Um, it's and it honestly, I say female jokingly, we're guys. I have a beautiful wife. You
oh yeah,
uh
you're a good salesman.
she's thank you. You're like the good salesman. I am a good salesman. Yeah. Aslan remembers a quote I said, if you want to see how good a salesman is, look at his wife. And I'm a very good salesman. But with Dark Phoenix, I guess there's a couple of different things. Number one, I kind of collect in silos. I create reasons to collect. And so Spider-Man is just for Peter Parker, that is, he's just a universal reason to collect, right? Regardless of set, regardless of insert, regardless of type, regardless of price point, I'm into the Spider-Man card, the Peter Parker specifically. Oh, we got Alonzo. What's up, Alonzo?
Yeah, good morning, Alonso.
Um, but when it comes to other characters, so for me, it's like, okay, if I want a female to chase outside of Peter Parker in an X-Men, it's probably going to be Dark Phoenix. And but that really began in X-Men Metal, and that was just because her card was so all of her cards were so
Yeah, I
amazing
remember.
to me. So it was
Mm.
easy to gravitate towards her. The truth is
Wait,
from as in go ahead.
so it only started in X-Men Metal.
Correct. Yeah, there was so for X-Men Metal, there were Spider-Man cards, but they were in the metal buybacks, but that was it. So technically you could only get 3 cards outside of sketch cards that had a Peter Parker Spider-Man on it. But I wanted to go deeper than that because X-Men Metal was actually the outside of Masterpieces was like the first set that I could buy. Well, it was, excuse me. X-Men Metal was the first set that I was buying in the modern Marvel card that I could open physically. I'd opened Masterpieces only on EPAC. And so I was like, I want to collect somebody really heavy here. Who's it going to be? And it ended up
Ah,
there was a moment where it might have been Magneto because I pulled the green PMG of Magneto, but then I sent that card back to Upper Deck to get replaced. And so at that point in time, I was like, it's going to be Dark Phoenix. And, I went all in. And so now I will continue to have the best Dark Phoenix collection for X-Men Metal because I have the printing plates, which
yeah.
there's only one of those
Oh,
for,
I've
and I have
seen
the
your
one of
collection.
one. And
Mhm.
so that's why there. But when it comes to X-Men characters in general, the truth is Wolverine's my favorite. And then everyone else is basically second place. Like I love the
Mm,
X-Men. There's especially as it relates to the iteration of the 90s X-Men, the Jim Lee
yeah.
era, the X-Men the animated series era. Excuse me. I could have easily collected Jubilee or Gambit or Nightcrawler if he was in the set, or like I said, Magneto or Beast or Archangel, Cyclops. I love all those characters. If the art resonates with me, I'm already in it.
Oh, right. So it just so happens that Phoenix resonated so well with you. Because yeah, I was thinking Magneto, but then I go and Hold on, because you like that Magneto art from EM Gist. Was it EM Gist who did that, that art where he's just floating in the air? And so I thought,
Yeah.
why Dark Phoenix? But anyway, you explained yourself really well. Talking
Thank you.
about X-Men, when you said in some of your interviews that you started, well, you were collecting Marvel cards and then you stopped in 96, 97, and then you
Mhm.
picked it up again at 2017, right? What was the set that made you go back into it with your brother? Because your brother was going into it with you as well, right?
Yeah, so, I heard you well, but I wanna make sure the viewer understood what you were saying is, I
Yeah.
collected cards as a kid, like, loved it. We were all in with it as a kid, and that went
Mhm.
from really 94 to 96, 97, like you said, we are and, basically, the last card that I remember seeing as a kid that resonates with me from a nostalgic standpoint is
Mhm.
96 Marvel Masterpieces. So anything that was made after that, I had, like, a complete lack of awareness of until 2021 because I started collecting again in 2017, but what I was collecting was comic books and action figures at a high level.
Oh, right.
But Marvel cards, so any Marvel card that I would pick up, between that time was something that was from early 90s. That was me
Right.
buying somebody's binder collection or picking up an insert to finish off one of my, sets. I remember for Christmas one year, I bought Dustin a box of 94 X-Men, Fleer Ultra X-Men for us to open and relive, and that was probably around 2014 or something like that. Uh, but the awareness of the modern Marvel Day card, or if you go look at CGC's eras that they've selected, this is
Mhm.
after the Excelsior era. I mean, that's in the Excelsior era all the way to the modern era. I did not collect during that time until 2021.
Wow, okay. So fairly
Mhm.
recent. Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to figure out what set it was, and I was going, must be
It was
masterpieces,
it
but
was
okay.
masterpieces. It was 2020 to answer your question, it was
Yeah.
2020 masterpieces.
Right.
I had, like, you done some Google searches prior to then, and I would see sketch cards, and they freaked me out. I didn't understand them.
Mm,
I
mm,
was like,
mm.
"How do you know which one to buy? Which artist is great? They're all one of ones. Wait, that's not how we collected as a kid." Like, I didn't understand it, and, um I remember asking questions at some group. I don't think it was MCCW, but there was some group that I went into and asked some questions, and I didn't get a pleasant response. Long story short,
Oh.
it wasn't welcoming, and it was like you could tell someone had the knowledge, and it wasn't for you. Like if you didn't grind to get here, and you weren't already in this secret society,
Oh.
you're not coming in. And I don't know that that's maybe not fair to be a representation to everyone, obviously, but that was my experience. And so I stayed away from the modern card the few times that I was like, is there something out there? Is there something I need to know? And and I remember like, hey, where could you buy stuff? And there was no information like that. You had to go like through 3 or 4 or 5 doors before it would open up to you to see where to buy it. And so it just didn't happen until January 2021, like I said, and I stumbled into the MCCW group, and there was a podcast that Ian Taylor did talking about how to buy masterpieces on ePack, and that was with Sketch Card High Fausto. And
Mm,
listen
mm,
to
mm,
that,
mm.
got my ePack account, and started buying modern Marvel cards.
You got sucked in. So
Yeah,
dangerous.
in a deep way.
So
Yeah.
dangerous. It's really weird that you say that because people in Australia are asking me those questions like, "Hey, where can I get cards? How do you know what's good?" And they show me all these, Marvel annuals. Should I get into this? And I went,
Mhm,
it's really interesting. And so I just point them to either your channel or,
mhm.
the MCC podcast, the podcast, or even your Discord channel. So, yes, you got a few Australians in there who's just joined, and yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
that's
interesting that
awesome.
you say that because even for me, when I came in, I was like, where am I going? And so I pinged, for those of you who don't know, I've pinged Justin like so many times, asking him all sorts of questions. So yeah, I feel a bit embarrassed about that. But anyway,
No, I
and
love it.
it's really interesting, right? Like the community that you've built essentially, with Manu and Noreen and everyone else. It's just so fun. So it's great. You know, I always hear you talk about, sets that you like,
Mhm.
Flea Ultra, masterpieces. What is one set that you don't like? And you don't have to say it if you don't feel comfortable
I
saying
knew
it,
you were
but is
gonna
there
ask me
one
this one.
particular set?
As I was making my coffee, I was like, "He's gonna ask me something I don't like. What is it?"
Really?
Yeah,
You don't have to say you don't
there's
like it, but least appealing.
well well,
Change the wording.
the, some of the Rittenhouse stuff where there's horizontal cards only, I'm not a huge
Mm,
fan of, because I like my cards vertically because I like to display them, and I like
mhm.
the way they look in my binder with vertical, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
pocket.
yeah. I know what you're saying.
Um, I think Women of Marvel is one of them that has a ton of horizontal cards I'm not a huge fan of. Some of the Avengers earlier Rittenhouse Avengers sets, which is, basically all just comic book art. That's not my favorite, but the inserts are really nice. So it's kind of like, I like opening that because I can get a really nice sketch card or a really nice numbered insert out of some of those sets. But the base cards alone, not a huge fan of. Um,
Mm,
Typically not a huge fan of annual, although I will say this year and the inserts this year are really nice. I've enjoyed what I've seen and opened so far.
mm,
So
mm, mm.
up until the 2022 Marvel Annual, I actually have never opened any of that physically because I just didn't really enjoy it. Um,
Yeah, it's something about for me, it's the red borders. I feel bad saying this because I know a lot of people like the red borders on the annual cards,
yeah.
but it's just something about it that makes it feel really, I don't want to say this, but tacky. But like you
Mhm,
said, that post that you just did on Instagram,
mhm.
the music was a bit crazy, but
It was
I
tough to
felt like
select
someone's
music, by
chasing
the
me. I'm
way.
like, what was that?
The music was tough to select for that one, so I just, she appeared in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, so I
Yeah,
went with the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Multiverse of Madness music.
No, it's great. That insert, I think they nailed it, man. Like the
Yeah,
splashtacular, what do you call it? The lentacular, splashtacular?
yeah,
I don't know. But that's just me. Yeah, that one there. Wow, did they
yeah,
do a good job with that card?
they really
That
did.
is phenomenal.
Yeah, and
And
so
is it layered? Like if you touch it, is it actually bumpy? Like, like
no, and I see it's the effect, but no, it's
all
smooth.
right, nice.
She looks like she's above it though, for sure.
That's really nice.
And then, of
All
course,
right.
they nailed, you know, again, they know who their buyer is right now, the '90s kid, and so to give us these suspended animation cards is really nice too.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's nice. Speaking of 90s kids,
Mhm,
you know, and we've seen, what Flair, what Upper Deck's been doing in terms of making blasters available in Kmart's.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, sorry,
Kmart's, that's
Kmart's.
definitely '90s kids.
And that's where I'm from. So over here we've got Kmart and we've got Target
Yeah,
and all
or
that.
Walmart and
But
Target is Barnes& and Noble, yeah.
how what's the best way to bring kids into the hobby? Because you
Well, I
know,
mean, the first thing is make something they like and then make it available to them.
mm,
And, so Upper Deck has a huge
wait,
challenge there.
in terms of product or content?
Well, so I understood the question to be for Upper Deck, but are you talking about overall or universally?
Yeah, just overall, like how do you get kids in? Like
Yeah, I mean,
do
so
you even need to try? Like,
well, I mean, there's it's a tough question because, part of you says, "Hey, look, let's make sure we get kids involved so that some other person will buy this off of me when I'm tired of collecting it," right? Like
mm,
there'll
mm,
be this
mm,
cycle of collection that happen. Yeah, buying people's collection. I think that's a wrong motive. Not wrong in
mm,
like it's like sinful or bad and you shouldn't want that. No, it's fine. That it's just I'm just saying that's not going to work. That's to me that's not going to be what actually creates that. To me, what creates it's the same thing that it created for us. It attaches itself to some fond memory that we had as a kid, and
mm,
it adds an extra layer of why behind the enjoyment of the collecting, that nostalgia that's attached to it. And so kids have to have moments and memories that are connected to around these images, these characters, these cards, for them to have that, that joy that would bring them back into the hobby as an adult when they have, more disposable income. So what's going to create that?
mm.
Access to the cards, the ability to get to them, to find them,
Yeah, that's
discover them,
true.
to be able to have some element of not only them but their kid, I'm an adult, their friends have access to them, and so they create this, little, trading, conversations, moments. Look what I got, and you don't have it, kind of thing. That happened to us as kids, and
Mm-hmm.
and so that there's a foundation to build on later as they get older and decide, hey, what do I want to, now that I have disposable income, what do I want to put that into that I'm going to enjoy. And so for us, I can only speak for what happened to me as a kid. What happened to me as a kid is I got introduced to a friend who already somehow knew about Marvel cards, and we had two shops locally where we could actually go find them on a regular, like, if I had money in the pocket, like, I knew I could go there and get something. There wasn't, it
Mm-hmm.
may or
Mm-hmm.
may not be there. And then eventually, that happened also at Walmart as well during that time, or, at a KB Toys. I knew I could get an action figure that had a trading card, in the package. Excuse me.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, it's really weird because I asked that question because people in the hobby are saying, "Oh, you need to get kids into the hobby." I'm going, well, not really. I mean, not the way I see it. It depends. Like you said, as long as if there's a good product and they're having fun playing with it. Like at the
Yeah,
moment, they're reading digital anime,
yeah.
playing Beyblades and Pokemon. There is no need for them, or there is no sense of lack because there's so much available to our kids nowadays. That,
Hmm.
you shouldn't see it from a point where, I mean, in my opinion. But anyway, enough about me. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like
Well,
you
the old
said,
the old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And that's what I
yeah.
think's going on here. Is like, look, you can, like, we can just, put it in front of kids, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to take. There's got to be something that's created around it for the kids, this sense of community. And probably what you're speaking to is that it's easier for the kids to have community around what you just described,
Mm,
the
mm,
way
mm,
the way
mm.
life moves right now. And so, yeah, if you could have an online experience around something that they enjoy and somehow can collect, like, that's probably what's happening.
See, the twist is we are the kids.
Well, look,
Do you know what
life
I mean?
became a lot easier for me once I realized that adults are just grown kids,
Yeah.
and there are
Oh,
very
for
few,
sure,
like,
man.
real adults out there. And so, but yeah, man, look, I joke all the time. Hey, I finally can afford to be the kid I always wanted to be. That was, as a kid who grew up, we never were starving. We always had a roof over our head of some sort.
Yeah.
It may have not been the nicest or the best, but we didn't have, we didn't always get what we wanted. Let me just say it that way.
Mm.
It's really nice that now I can say, hey, if I want that, like, I have the resources.
Get
I
it.
can go out there and work and do or sell or whatever to work to make that happen.
Mm-mm-mm-mm. Interesting. Interesting. I remember as a kid, my most favorite insert was the holograms when they came out in 1990.
Yeah.
I remember they were everywhere. I think Marvel did it first, and then basketball. But
Okay.
I had a question about your favorite insert because
Hmm.
I've seen your videos. I've been watching you for so long. Not in a creepy way, but you know what I mean. You started off saying, you wanted to get into PMGs, the high end stuff, and then
Yeah.
from there, you evolved, and you started your genre meter sketch. What is your, like, right now? Like, what would you say is your favorite insert out of
Hmm.
all the sets, everything, like Rittenhouse, Upper Deck, Skybox, whatever?
Mm.
Do you
Yeah, I
have
mean,
one?
let me build up to it if that's okay, because I
Sure,
could just
go
give you
ahead.
the answer, and it does what it does. But let me build up to it. So, coming back into the hobby, the the idea was like, what is like most rare, most desirable, most expensive? Like, that's just a natural thought
Yeah, yeah.
to say, what would it be like to accomplish that, to have that, to own that? And you know, due to people that I was talking to, and it was like, hey, look, probably the 2013 PMGs. That's probably the most expensive car. That's
Mm-mm-mm.
uh, that wasn't, just so everyone knows, like, that wasn't created by some outside force who was driving some, you know, value thing, trying to make a flip or a pump. Like, that was
Mhm.
already believed early on before, the craze of Marvel, so to speak. And so when I came in, I was like, okay, well, I know I can't afford Spider-Man at that level. I know I'm not going to be able to get those cards. They're locked up. Like I was told that they're locked up. They're done. And so I was like, well, I'll chase Spider-Man 2099. And this is out of 2017 Fleer Ultra Spider-Man. Getting the bronze was easy. I got a few of those that, that just was money, right? Boom, boom, boom. And then got a red. Okay, cool, cool. And then at some point was able to get a blue. That was a little more expensive. But the green and the purple, which is the green's out of 10, purple's out of 5,
Yeah.
that was a real hunt. Like I was like doing like reverse background searches on people on their e-pack. Like it was a true deep dive to like take somebody's e-pack name, which may or may not reflect who they really are as a person, right?
Yeah.
And do like
Reverse
reverse
engineer
searches
it.
to figure out who this person is. And
Oh,
I did, man. I did. I accomplished it. I found this person, got him on
right.
Instagram. They had the green PMG, and began to like send a message and like hope they read it, kind of thing. And eventually
Yeah.
they did. And they're like, really don't want to sell it. I was like, okay, all right, but like, would you entertain? It's like he's like, you just got to throw me a number, right? And eventually, long story short, I got it for $600, which you have to remember, this card
Wow.
was raw, never held
Yeah.
it, didn't touch it. And at the time, I think the most expensive collectible I had purchased was the ASM 300,
Yeah.
signed and it's signed by Todd McFarlane. Like that was like the most expensive, and I think I spent like 350, $400, something like that on it. So for me to
Mhm.
double that was like really painful. I was like, "Ooh, if my wife finds out I'm paying $600 for a trading card, like she's gonna be really upset." And but what if you've heard the story, what happened was I actually had opened up a box of Marvel Gems, hit an out of 10
Mhm.
nameplate Psylocke, sold that for $535, and agreed to make that purchase for the green PMG. And so now I'm like, oh wow, like I'm doing it, like it's happening. And went to begin to discover ComC around that same time, ComC.com. If you're into
Mhm.
Marvel cards, great place to look for singles and purchase. They had the out of 5 there. And if I remember correctly, I paid the same $600 for the out of 5 purple. And so
Right.
now, like I have this beautiful 2099 rainbow, and I'm like, okay, I'm in this game, I'm in the hunt, and then the story goes on from there. But
Right. Okay.
the then I accomplished obtaining the gold 1 of 1 Spider-Man. And as you can imagine, like, okay, like to me, that was like at the time, it's like, wow, all right, I'm at the pinnacle. Like I have the number 1 insert that people are
Yeah.
willing to
Yeah.
spend money on, right? And at this time, the golden auctions had occurred where a, a gold 1 of 1 from 2015 has sold for 28,000, and the green out of 10 from 2013 has sold for, I can't remember, 32, 36, 30 something
Mhm.
thousand
Mhm.
after buyer's premium. And I'm like, okay, well, this is it. Like I'm done. Like it's what I thought wasn't possible was possible. It happened, and now I have this pinnacle, and I would put it in my display, and man, it just wasn't. It just
Yeah.
didn't.
You said before.
It just I certainly understood what it was. I certainly understood what people, or I had a sense at the time, I thought of what people would pay for it.
Mhm.
And um but it didn't have any nostalgia attached to it outside of just being Peter Parker. Like I did not have a
Mhm.
PMG as a kid, and so this was almost like me chasing what other people wanted, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And it was fine. Like I felt I felt a great sense of responsibility with the card. So if you go back and look at the channel and look at the Instagram account, you're not going to find me like I didn't post a bunch about that card. I didn't do a lot with it, so to speak. The fact that people know that I own that card has way more to do with Sports Card Investor than it has to do with me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And um and so anyways, that I felt responsible to not um you know hurt people with it, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
because you can do that kind of stuff with those kind of cards. And
So
so,
wait. Yeah. You go ahead.
yeah. And so you go later into 2021. I had some people in the hobby are going to know reached out and they were like, "Hey, I want the card." I was like, "Well, it's not going anywhere, but thanks, I appreciate it." But then I got a call from someone I've never met, and I think probably had 3 phone calls up to that point, and it's like a no nonsense person. And they called me on a day where I was actually in the middle of ringing the bell for the Salvation Army. Okay. So I'm at a local grocery store. It's December of 2021, and
Right.
I'm ringing a bell. Bum, 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 bum. And they're like, "Hey, call me when you get done." Well, I was like, "Hey, I'm busy. I'm ringing this bell." And they're like, "Well, call me when you get done." So I called them. They were like, "What do you think? What do you think that card is worth right now?" And I was like, "Man, the market's been crazy. I think it has a chance to be a $50,000 card. Like, I think that's what if I put it out there, somebody might be willing to do." And then they were like, let me just threw a much bigger number than that out there. And
Oh,
I
for
was
you,
like,
as in to buy the card. Okay.
yeah, to
Got it.
buy the card. And it just like I just couldn't believe it. Like I was like,
That's great.
how do I handle this information? You know, do I just simply say no thank you? I appreciate you. Um, Good luck on your
But
collecting journey.
hold on. That doesn't answer the question though. What is your
I'm
favorite
I'm
insert? Is
getting there.
that your
I'm
favorite
getting
insert?
At that
Okay,
time, I
okay.
thought it had to be.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
my
yeah,
point.
yeah.
That
Oh,
time
I
I
see
was
what you're
like,
saying.
"Oh, no, you can't, like, this is supposed to be your favorite insert, Justin, like, don't you know? Like, this is what." And, once I worked through the mental gymnastics that it took to get through, like, what it would mean to
Mm.
sell the cart, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? Part of the conversation I had with a dear friend of mine in the hobby was like, "Is is it really even your favorite card?" And I had to wrestle with that, like, because it's supposed to be.
Mm,
And
mm, 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 mm.
and it wasn't. Like, I couldn't even point to at the time that I got the card, I couldn't even tell you what comic book the image came from. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
that wasn't there. So, fast forward, and what's funny is some people who've been in the hobby for a long, long time, they're like, "Justin, we understand why you think that card's awesome, but you haven't ever held one of these." And those cards would be comic book creator art and autos. So when you think through the fact that you can actually own a Stan Lee sketch that he personally signed that was pack pulled, and when you hold it and you go, "Oh wow, yeah, this supersedes anything that has a printed image on it and
Mm.
that was made rare by the number that was put on it. Like this just doesn't exist anywhere else. And it can't exist anywhere else because they're no longer with us. They can't reprint it." Then I
Fair
began to
enough.
realize, okay, this is actually what it means to be special. Like this Peter Parker that I love, how about something from the guy who made him, thought him up, it was born out of his brain, and that he then sketched and signed, and the other creators who did that in the same way. And that at this time, I don't own a Stan Lee sketch.
Mhm.
I intend to one day, Lord willing. Right now, the closest that I've been able to get to that is the John Romita sketch. And if you go back, if you're not aware of who John Romita Sr. is, because there
Yeah.
is a John Romita Jr., which speaks to John Romita Sr.'s legacy, by the way. But go back and look at the art that he created. Uh, you know,
Yeah, it's
Many of
legendary.
the most iconic Spider-Man covers in the ASM run is a John Romita. And
Mhm.
so right
Mhm.
now, my John Romita Spider-Man sketch, which has a beautiful signature on the front. So think, like Pack pulling an auto with a sketch
Mhm.
card that's from a creator of Spider-Man. I think is really special.
So a sketchograph is what you're saying. That's
Yeah,
considered a
well, that's
sketchograph, isn't it?
so sketchographs. So if you go back in time and it's
Mhm.
Marvel is, going through a bunch of changes, basically bankruptcy. They're being taken over by another person
Yeah.
that's, began running the show. And you had all these artists who were just not as busy as they once were. They just went through the halls and said, "Hey, with your free time, like draw us some sketches for these these this box of cards we're going to make." And they did, including Stan Lee, sat down and drew sketches, over and over and over again. And these are the actual comic book creators, the actual artists, and
Yeah.
for the sets. And they put them into packs, and no one was really collecting then. So this is a time where things are, I use the word dormant. Pokemon is what's shooting up in people's peripheral and vision for kids at that time. And the comic book stores had already closed. So, having access to them through your local comic book shop was not happening during that time either.
Yeah. Impossible. All right. Oh, we're already quite into the session now. So you've only got you got to go to church. So I gotta wrap this up eventually.
I'm good for another 15 minutes.
Oh, 15 minutes. Let's go. One of the things I wanted to cover as well is in one of your videos, you said, creation creates, right? And so I know that at this stage now, you're at a level where you were not a year ago.
Correct.
You've got access to artists, to people in the know. What are you most excited about creating? I know I've seen you go into Twitch and you've got all this stuff set up. Is there any upcoming projects that you're excited about?
Yeah, 100%. I'm super excited about.
You don't have
I'm
to
not
say
going
it
to
if you
share.
can't say.
Yeah, I can't share some details, but just know that there are artist unboxings that are coming, which
Oh,
people
ooh.
are going to be excited about.
Oh, you mean like
and
what Alonso did with Simone Bianchi?
yeah, well, I mean things like that. Yeah, I don't want to give too many details away, but yeah, without the artist, we don't have the product. Like we don't have the thing we enjoy. So to be able to continue to spotlight them and not just an interview way. Interviews are great, and I want to do the interviews, but to have them react to their own art for us, to tell us the story about it while we're opening or seeing it, to me that's something I'm super excited about doing. And I just have a sense that when one artist sees their friend do it, they're like, well, then I'll do it, and then I'll do it, and then it just opens the door. Creation creates, right? So when they see or hear, hey, if I ask an artist, hey, would you like to do an artist unboxing? Here's when I did it with 9 of the artists from Fleer Ultra Avengers.
I saw that.
Well, if Ray Lago got on there, I can, and so to me that's what I mean when creation creates. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but maybe it works for somebody else. Maybe I kind of like blaze a trail and beat back the bushes, but it makes it easier for Aslan to go down that trail. And that's kind of how I see that.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, buddy.
Is it the Masterpieces set?
You have to know who the artist is for it to be that set. But
I'm just joking, man. I'm just joking.
That's okay. So the other thing I'm really excited about is now when I go on YouTube, almost every single day, there is someone else putting out Marvel card content. And I cannot tell you how much joy that gives me. Because I know that whenever I started making content, it was rough, finding it and seeing it. And so now to see more and more and more people enjoying the product and doing it and sharing it with others, that gives me a ton of joy, because I think that's a sign of health in the hobby, right? That is a sign of health in the hobby when people are enjoying it and sharing it with others and making it visible. I think that's really important. I'm really excited about that.
Cool. Now, speaking of artists, well, this is not really related, but have you been approached by sponsors? And like, I wouldn't say what's the weirdest, but yeah. And so obviously you've declined all of them, because I haven't seen any sponsorships on your videos. And what does it take for, I'm not going to, you know what? I'm not even going to ask this. I was just curious. And Alistair is not a sponsor. He's the guy behind the guy behind your videos. He's always doing stuff behind you. Who is he?
I don't know who you're talking
about. There's this guy who's always in your room, and he's not like a made up person. You remember when we were breaking the cards on your channel? There was that guy who was behind your chair, and he was always
Brian.
like, he was. Oh, Brian. Sorry.
I didn't
You
know.
made me feel like I was like talking about a
I was
ghost.
like I was like looking over my shoulder.
What? Who is Brian?
Uh,
What does he do?
Brian
I've
Pullen
always
works
wondered.
at a welding shop, and
Right, right, right.
he's my pastor's sister's husband.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Pastors, sisters. Because I thought he was the guy who just like because I always see him like arranging cards. So I thought he's one of your, you know, he
Yeah.
arranges cards for
No,
you.
no,
So
no, no. So Brian is a sweet, sweet guy, and
yeah.
we played spades together quite a bit, and then he, cards, playing cards like poker, spades,
Oh, right,
and
right, right. Sorry. Yep.
yeah, that's all right. Um, and anyways, he just would hear about me talking about the hobby, and he jumped into it, and he loves it now, and so he's all around. But
Yeah.
as it relates to sponsors, the it's a number of different things, right? Okay. Number one, I don't want anybody telling me how to make content. That's number one. Okay.
Oh, they do
And
that.
well, I've been offered like five-figure numbers, but with wanting some creational control, like in terms of like the kind of content I'm making. Not telling me what to
What?
say, but the kind of content I'm making. And so I've turned that down. And uh the other thing is like
Wow.
the moment
Interesting.
the moment I do take a sponsorship of some sort, which I'm sure is in my
Hmm.
future. Okay, let's
Yeah,
just
yeah, for sure.
state the facts here and pretend like they don't exist. But um I don't want to feel like I'm forced to do this. You know, the I think I'm at 400 videos now. I've done it because I want to. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
I mean, you know the work it takes to make edited videos, right?
Hmm.
You see even the work just to set up a live and actually be here for an hour, like what it
Yeah.
takes. And um, I think YouTube's paid me
Mm.
$3,500 over 2 years. Like that's not why. Okay, there's not all this YouTube revenue or something like that. And and I don't sell a tremendous amount of cards. Like you can go to
Mm,
my
mm, mm,
eBay,
mm.
you can go, you're in my Discord, you see on Instagram or the Marvel card
Yeah,
page.
yeah, yeah.
I sell periodically, and typically it's to get into another card.
Yeah.
Um, at some point, this could possibly, be a source of revenue for me and my family. And I'm open to that possibility and what it would be, but it's gonna have
Mm.
to really, really align for me. Not only on brand, but also on the amount of money, on the amount of time and effort it takes in terms of what it generates for my family and what it creates for the community, like what it does for the community. And so
Mm.
there have been big auction houses that have reached out. They're, well, I won't
Right,
go into
right.
all the details, but just
Yeah.
know like there've been people that have recognized that the Spidey Hits channel that Justin Underwood could probably move the needle for them and help them make money and using the channel to do so. And I'm like really awake to that being possible, and which is why I guard it so much.
It's insane, isn't it? For just hearing that you now have sponsors asking you, 5 figures. Wow. Wow, have you
Mhm.
come far, Justin. I'm so proud of you, man.
Oh, buddy, that was
Um,
early. That's not recently. That was
oh,
early
right.
on. Yeah, that would have been that would have been February of 2022. So the channel was likely sitting at like 2,000 subscribers or something like that.
Right,
But at the
right.
time, even though that was true, the channel was still like the number one Marvel card content creation.
Yeah, back.
And so it's like, um, but just know like if you're out there making Marvel card content and it's being appreciated, that those opportunities may lay out there for you and it may align for you to do it. And it's just not for the Spidey Hits channel at this time.
Yeah. No, it's a good point, man. Because yeah, I've had my fair share with the media, and it's like you don't know who to trust, man. So it's interesting that at least we have each other to talk to. So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I'm not at your level, back in the
Come
day.
on now.
Ah, come on. What? No, no
Yeah.
way. I'm like
Dude, if
10
you had
years away
created
from you,
400
mate.
videos, you'd be way beyond me. Come on.
Oh, come on. Thank you for the compliments. But speaking about, yeah, I'm just thinking.
Mhm.
We I saw a post recently about people talking about their favorite. What is your dream insert? No, coming back to that question. Sorry, I was
Yeah.
meant to ask you this before I asked you about the sponsors.
Mhm.
But if you had like a Pandora's box, like you can wish anything, what would be the insert that you would create?
Man, that's actually a difficult question for me because my brain
Ah,
just fires
goes
off
every.
so much different stuff. It doesn't hone in on one thing. Um,
Look, we'll
dream
come
in
back to that. How
give me
about
just
that?
a second. Give me just a second.
Okay, okay, okay.
uh, well, I mean, yes, the dream inserts exist. That's the problem. They
Oh,
already
you think
exist.
so?
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, yeah, the 97 was believed to be the one of one Stanley sketch of Spider-Man. It's the first ever sketch cards in Marvel cards. It's Stanley at Spider-Man. There's supposedly only one. So how could you not want the first ever sketch card?
Oh, I
That
remember this.
and so like that to me that already exists. So you have to have me think of something that doesn't exist. I gotta still I have to still probably point to creator creator art on a card. I think
Mm,
that that's
mm, mm,
still
mm, mm, mm.
still really important. So if you allow me to pack pull an Alex Ross Spider-Man sketch card, like
Ooh, Alex Ross.
if you allowed me to pack pull a Jim Lee Wolverine sketch card that's signed, like what would top that? Like
Yeah,
what if Todd what if Marvel worked to deal with Todd and they're like, Todd, do 10 sketch cards for this upcoming set for Spider-Man and Venom. And all
ooh.
of them have to be Spider-Man and Venom. And then you like, could you
Yeah,
imagine
yeah,
pack pulling one of those?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, that to me would just if you could get these creators of the art for the characters to do art for the set, um, and
I
it's
like
not to
that. Mm.
diminish the sketch cards that are in there. That I love it. I mean, you can see what it means to pull a Peach Pomoka sketch now. If you were to buy a box of 2020 Marvel anime, if you
Hmm.
pull a Peach Pomoka sketch card, like you have something really special because she's now creating comic book covers, right? And then
Hmm.
I'm not saying she wasn't then, but now she's like really famous for it.
Yeah, and she's not doing
And
commissions anymore for cards either. So
mhm,
yeah, so you're right. Oh, interesting, interesting. No, I totally agree, man. Like I think that definitely is up there. Like coming back to that Stan Lee one, is it from the Onslaught box? Is that what you're referring
so
to? That
Onslaught's 96, 95, 96,
oh,
and
okay, I got my wires crossed.
there's Stanley autos in there. He did 100 of them.
Hmm.
And so those exist, but also Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld also have autos in there, and they're on
Yeah, I
card.
heard.
Be careful before you run out and buy a box of Onslaught. They brick
Yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
badly. And that's why you haven't seen me open one on the channel because you're going to watch me, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
unbrick cards the whole time. But those autos do exist. They're beautiful. They're nice autos,
I need to
and they
find
are
them.
important. Mhm.
There is a seller now on eBay, but anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Anyway,
Yeah.
coming back to your collection,
Mhm.
I had a question. I always wanted to ask you this: if you had a chance to do things differently, because I know I
Mhm.
do, like with my collection, would you do it differently? Would you advise yourself back then to say, hey, for me,
Yeah.
it's quality over quantity,
Mhm.
specifically, because I went
Mhm.
hardcore on quantity, and I don't know why I did that, but anyway. But yeah, is that something similar for you? Like, what would you have done differently if you were given the choice to do it? I mean, obviously, if you're happy to share that. If not, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot around it. Am I making content in this reality that you're asking me to relive? Am I making content?
Yeah, does it matter?
It does for me. Yeah, the content definitely
Oh,
drives my collecting habits for sure.
oh,
For sure. I
okay.
mean, if I was only collecting, like, and that was it, then there would be boxes and product I probably I don't open as much that either
Oh, I see what you're
remain
saying now.
like there's
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that
yeah.
I'm doing that serve what it means to collect for me now because the content is part of my collecting journey. That's just
Yeah,
true. And for me to try to divorce the two would like tear me in two. And I'm not doing that. I'm not going to
that's
do
true.
that. And so to think of me as a collector who doesn't make content would be silly. Okay. But if I was the audience who has no intentions to do the content thing, um, man, I would narrow my focus to the finest point possible, whether that be a character in a set, an insert type in a set, or a set, or whatever that means to narrow it to a point. I would do that, and then I would focus only on accomplishing it,
Yeah.
only on it. I would not get distracted. I wouldn't look to the left, to the right, and lose sight. Like if you're the analogy of plowing a field when you're cutting in a row. If you turn and look over the shoulder, you divert. You can't
Yeah,
look to
yeah,
the
yeah,
right
yeah.
or left. You got to keep the focus right in front of you. And that's what I would do when I came back into the hobby. You know, I just like, wow, I missed so much. I missed all this. Now I've got to catch up. And I got to have a piece of every set, so to speak. And it doesn't cut a clean row. You don't actually accomplish as much. It's more wide than deep. And I would say as a collector, there's probably more joy and sense of accomplishment, and likely if you are in it to sell down the road, like even of the ability to generate or turn that into something special financially with a strong narrowed focus into something specific.
Great. That's great advice, man. I totally agree. Yeah. It's funny you said about the content stuff because I was contemplating on buying more boxes just to create content. I'm going, but then I'll start collecting those boxes and then I'll get into this rabbit hole. So, so
Yeah,
it
you got to
sort
know
of
yourself.
resonates. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but for me, remember, again, who I am and the way I do things isn't for everyone, okay, at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
But part of the reason I enjoy Marvel cards is because it creates things like I'm having right now with you to be
Mm,
on the
mm, mm,
camera with
mm.
you, and so I'm blessed with. Well, I remember what I remember well. Whether it's what actually happened, that's debatable. But
Yeah.
the way I remember well. Like this memory of me and you together here this morning is going to lodge in my brain. It's part of my collecting, part of what
Journey.
I'm collecting. I'm collecting these moments and memories. And so it's all of this is connected to me, and I enjoy it and love it. But if I'm just focused on the cards, I'd be super narrow focus.
It just reminded me of Manu 1.5, where
That's a great look.
that was fun, man. That was
Isn't
fun.
that amazing? Like to have that memory
Oh
to
man, that was
and to
fun.
be able to go back and watch it. Like
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna be 74 years old on the beach somewhere, and I'm gonna be reliving our YouTube memories, and they're gonna mean just as much. They're gonna mean more to me than the cards,
Yeah,
and that's just who I am.
the memories. Look, I think we have to wrap up. I've got three more questions,
Okay,
but
so rapid
I don't know
fire.
if we can get through it.
All
Okay,
right.
the first thing is, what content do you think the hobby needs at the moment? Is there content that you think is missing at the moment?
Um,
That that is that sort of needs to be out there? Because personally, like with Magic, there is a villain. You got Rudy, who's a villain, right?
yeah, I don't
Whereas in the
know.
Marvel community, it's sort of everyone's polite. Do you know what I mean? To a certain
Yes,
extent,
it's
at least,
working.
yeah, which is great. Which is
Have a
great. I'm not
marvelous
saying that
day.
it's a bad thing, but
Yeah.
what do you think? I'm curious to know.
The content that the hobby needs is the content that is you that you want to make.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
you that you want to make. Um, let's I would strongly encourage you, if you want to make content in a way that others are making it, that's great. If it feels comfortable and natural to you, it already feels safe, that's great. But be risky. Like if it's in you and like you want to make it and it's not going to hurt others, like go
Mm,
all
mm,
in.
mm.
Go do it. Uh, you know, there's maybe somebody out there that wants to, I don't know, open a box of cards with a Spider-Man mask on. I'm making something up. Like I'm just saying, like whatever
is,
whatever it
is that
is, whatever that is. Like, could you imagine? It's like whatever, like whatever that is, do it,
yeah.
enjoy it, put it out there, and let it do what it's going to do. Okay. So yeah, the content that the hobby needs is the content that you want to make that aligns for you, that speaks and calls to who you are as a person.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just want to say hello to Do6237. Hey, man, good morning.
Well, don't mind
Yeah,
that.
no, it's really interesting that you say that because for me, I asked myself the same question, like,
Mhm,
what is the anchor? Why am I doing this? And it's about creating friends, and for me anyway,
mhm,
so
mhm.
okay,
Look,
cool.
C.S. Lewis says this, and this really has helped me as a content creator, as a creator in general, even outside of
Yeah.
pointing the camera at myself. Um, stick to the truth, whatever that is for you, no matter how many times it's been done or said before. And in the end, you'll end up being very different. So
I gotta listen to that again.
yeah, don't worry about, is someone else doing it or is it like someone else? Like if it's what's
Mm,
true for you, do it and stick to it. And in the end, you actually ended up being very different. If you set out just to be different for the sake of being different, you often end up being like others. So just stick to
mm,
the truth, like whatever that is for you, and make it whatever it
true to
costs
you.
you from a content standpoint, and do it. You never know, end up being different.
I like that. I think that's really great advice, man. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just asking myself the
Well,
same
think about
question the other
C.S.
day.
Lewis. So C.S. Lewis is dear friends with J.R.R. Tolkien, who's writing The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. And then
Mm-hmm.
he wants to write
Mm-hmm.
this book about a fantasy land. Well, my friend's already doing that. You know what? No, he's going to stick to the story that's in him, and he ends up writing the Chronicles of Narnia,
Oh
right?
wow, that made me
And so,
famous.
what's that? Yeah, it made you famous. Yeah, Aslan made you famous.
Oh man, I have a
Yeah,
backstory about that.
he.
Like,
Uh-huh.
I used to hate my name because people in
Oh,
Australia couldn't pronounce it. So I would say, "Oh, my name is Joe." And after Narnia
yeah,
came out
Joe.
in the movies, oh
Uh-huh.
my god, everyone's like, "Oh, Aslan, that's the coolest name." So anyway, sorry, side story, but
I love
yeah, okay,
that.
come.
Yeah. Is he
So yeah, interesting.
is Aslan, is he dangerous? Oh yeah, he's dangerous, but he's good. Love that line.
Oh, I
Such a
don't
great
even
line.
know that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's interesting you say that because yeah, like who cares? Yeah. Wow,
And he
I'm
ended
gonna
up
have to
writing something
replay
very
this.
different that stands on its own, even though
Yeah,
his
for
best
sure.
friend, his dear friend Tolkien, is writing The Fellowship of the Ring, the Lord of the Rings.
Wow,
Yeah. So
did not
yeah,
know
just
that.
stick to what's inside of you, what's true for you that you enjoy, and don't
Hmm.
worry about if somebody else has done it.
Yeah, true. All
Mhm.
right, you can be my life coach now. No, that's what this session is really about. No,
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Marvel Card Life Coaching. I love it. That's, you know what? I'd sign up for that. I love that.
You can do it, mate. I mean, yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
do in spades, mate. So, all right, last two questions, really
Okay.
quickly. I almost forgot the last one. Okay, this I know I was not going to ask you any questions about. I said I was not going to ask you any questions about investing, but if you had a choice to choose one set that you would invest in as in keep, only to sell later, which set would it
Only to
be and
sell
why?
later.
Yeah.
Mm,
So it's not to rip, but it's to
not to
sell,
rip.
not to rip.
Based on, okay, so this is, when we answer questions like this, it can quickly become more true and less true in the future because there's information and data
Oh,
that doesn't exist, right? We only have what we have right now in terms of information. Um,
mm.
oh man. And this
Do you
is
want to ping
just
me the
to
answer?
simply resell for a profit. What's that?
Yeah, do you want to ping me the answer on Instagram?
Yeah.
Because
Um,
it's gonna make it hard for everyone else. So,
yeah, yeah. And so,
uh,
all right. So just know what's going through my brain right now is, okay, Justin, you're going to say this, and there's likely someone, at least one person, that may actually make a financial decision based on it,
oh yeah.
and that weighs heavy with me. Okay.
Mm,
Um, so this doesn't mean that I'm not doing this. Okay. What I'm about to say, I'm not doing.
mhm.
I would probably, oh gosh, this is a set I
Should we
don't
just skip?
enjoy. No,
No,
no, I'm gonna
let's
answer
just
it.
skip to the next question.
This is a set I don't enjoy. Um, I'd probably buy Marvel Vibranium and keep it sealed. That's probably what I'd do.
Oh
Um,
wow, interesting.
because it got a lot of hate when it came out because people were looking for the next PMG, and they
Hmm.
were like, "Oh wait, these cards have this like cracked ice sports effect, and it's numbered cards, and it's Miles Morales' first ever numbered card, right? Gwen, Spider Gwen's first ever number card. Double check me on the Miles Morales part. I'm pretty sure that's
Hmm.
true. But it is Ghost Spider's rookie card if you want to look at it
Mm-hmm.
from a, using the sports investment flipper mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it got, because people were just looking for the next PMG, it actually got a lot of hate, you know, from all sides. Like Marvel card collectors who have been around for a while said, "Oh, it's ugly aesthetically, it's not great." People who already invested in Marvel cards were like, "No, that's crap." It's
Yeah,
a
I've seen
PMG or
his fair
nothing.
share of hate. Yeah.
And my brain tells me like people typically don't want the thing until they actually want the thing. And
Mm-hmm.
Upper Deck is on record on the podcast saying that they're going to come out with an original art set in a vibranium style. And so I'm curious if that's going to rekindle any of that. But I think, you fast forward 10 years down the road and people have already decided what they feel about cards. They may go, "Hey, where's that Ghost Spider first ever card that hasn't, that's numbered?" And it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
vibranium. And so, um, because that price is down right now from where it was, and if maybe it can go up, that probably would be that. Um, other
Yeah,
than
it's
that,
interesting. Yeah.
and and that answer protects me because I'm not buying any, so I don't have to worry about it going up
Yeah, no,
and
I mean, no,
causing me
I
an issue. But
appreciate you being honest because everybody has their own opinion, right? I mean, I've got my opinions as to what I think is gonna go hot. But yeah, I mean, it's all
yeah,
speculation anyway. It's just mumbo jumbo talk. But I
and
was
I
just
don't,
interested to know
yeah,
because
I don't know where those prices are right now for
yeah,
those
me neither, to
boxes.
be honest.
I don't own any. I still think, you know, I think there are sets out there that still have a bright future from a sealed product standpoint. I think
Mm,
Spider-Man Metal is definitely one of those. Um, we're going to go into the future, and people are
yeah, it's
still
too
going
hard.
to enjoy that
Yeah.
product and want to open it. There's still, until the one of one Spider-Man number 76 is pulled, that one's still going to be something that people are ripping to chase, and will do so in the future. Yeah, sealed product is it's just not going away with,
Mm, mm,
did you see that eBay? I don't know if they unveiled it, but it was the first time I ever saw it. They unveiled people
mm.
opening up product on eBay and selling it, to sell it on eBay like a whatnot platform. Like that's happening. They showed it at Mint Collective. Mama Breaks went live and showed, that
On
ability.
eBay.
Yeah, so like if you have your cars on eBay, like you can put them up like the same way you would whatnot, like they're on eBay. And so that
Wow,
they're gonna be competing as a platform to sell live like that.
that's
Um,
insane.
and so having product to rip or to open to create that gamble entertainment, fast selling, experience, fast buying experience, it's going to continue to make that seal product more and more valuable in the future, I suspect.
Wow. Wow. Did not know that. Now I'm gonna have
Hmm.
to start Googling about that.
Yep.
But anyway, look, we've reached our time, Justin. Thank you so much. Now, the last question I
Yeah.
had was, what are your upcoming projects? And, just tell the people where they can find you. Obviously, they already know, but and I've got all of his links in the description of the video.
Oh,
But
thanks,
if
man.
there's anything else, I don't have your Twitch
Well,
sort of
that's
account.
I'm playing around with that one right now. Let me
All
finish
right. Okay.
playing around with it, and then I'll make it available. But yeah, the number one place to find me is on YouTube at SpideyHits. Feel free to come hang out with us. We go live either Sunday or Tuesday night, depending on family schedule, for the Marvel Show, where we talk all things Marvel, but specifically related to Marvel trading cards and Marvel comics. But we get into, by the third hour, we may be talking about who knows what. It's a great time with Manu. And this coming Tuesday, depending on when you watch this will be April the 18th, 2023. We have the 1 year anniversary, and we're going to give away a lot of stuff. It's going to be epic. You do not want to miss it. But you got to be there. You got to be live. Got to be commenting to win. Instagram, Spidey Hits. Feel free to come follow me there. That's a place where I can deliver quick information, but I like to share other special cards that people have and then stuff in my collection. We have the Spidey Hits Discord, which is it's a closed group. But I mean, you can come to it, but just know it's not for everybody. It's a group where you've got to love people, so that can strike people off the list. Like you seriously have to love people. You have to love Marvel cards. So if you're going to come in there and hate on Marvel cards, like it's not for you. And I don't mean you love a Marvel card and not this one, like no hate on Marvel cards. It's just a place for people to come and be able to ask questions and get them answered in a way that's helpful and educational. And got to keep it marvelous. It's not a place to come and kind of dump and be negative. There are other spaces that should exist. Like it's, good health, it has both, right? Like where you can be both positive and negative. That's just not that space, right? That's just not what that's created for. There's other spaces for that. But the Spidey Hits Discord, and did you put the link for that in the description?
Oh, it's everywhere.
Oh,
I've got
perfect.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
got it
So
all.
feel free to come there, but just
So,
know
yeah.
that's the rules. Love people love Marvel cards. Keep it marvelous for the Discord. And I'm on Twitter. I like posting on Twitter periodically, and there's people that are there that are not in other spaces. So it's nice to be able to reach them there. So
I just have to make a note that I can't go to work on Wednesday my time to make it to your Marvel show.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah,
No, but
take that
coming back to
PTO.
what yeah, that's right. That's right. Coming back to what guys, coming back to what Justin said, his show is one of the best shows I've been on from a Marvel point of view. Like, it's just a place where we all can hang and just have a good time opening Marvel cards, talking about Marvel cards, all things Marvel, and a few
every
actors
Saturday
and
morning.
actresses. Yeah.
Saturday morning Marvel cards on Saturday morning.
So all right, Justin, I'll let you go now. You've got to go to what you got to do. What you got to do on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming, man. Look, you're always welcome to join the channel. I might make this a thing now with other people as well. So thank you so much, Justin, for being my first guest.
Oh,
thank you
first
so much,
gift.
man. You are you are my first guest. So thanks, mate. Have a good day, buddy. See ya.
Thanks, buddy. Have a marvelous day.
You too, mate.